Everybody, today is Friday, July 27th, 2018. This is MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. I am Goz, that's Dan Tom, the voice in your head, that's Danny Okers.
That me.
And we have Mike Boyle. I don't know if he's going to chime in at all on what we were talking about. I don't even know if we should keep talking about that.
Hey, what's up, Mike
It's
Boyle?
not a Friday thought.
Yeah.
I know Mike Boyle's on.
It was dark, guys. It was dark before we started.
It's not a Friday thought.
Mike Boyle, you heard what we were talking about, right? Not the deli meats.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. He was very disappointed.
Don't say what it was.
Very disappointed.
What would be your price tag to play that?
There would be no money.
No money?
There, I couldn't put it. I would never do it. That's not,
Danny said $1 million. And Dan, did you ever give a number?
I didn't give a number. I would do it for $1 million.
I think $1 million sounds about right.
That's the lowest I'd probably go. You gotta have. I think that's the number.
All right. That would suck, though. Anyway, today's show, we have Carlos Silva on the program, Brandon Halsey. They will join us via the phone. And in studio, we'll be joined by Jay Hieron, one of the stars of The Equalizer 2.
Yeah.
I liked him in Law and Order personally. He makes a good cop.
Law and Order?
Yeah.
I liked him in the what was the Marvel one?
Yeah, there we go, Danny.
Really, Danny? You had that ready to go?
I got it.
That one bummed me out. I'm not gonna give a spoiler.
Yeah. What was the one he?
I know. 30.
Did him
Jessica
dirty.
Jones or Luke Cage? I think it was Luke Cage. I know he's done almost all of them, but
I need to see what he looks like. I can't remember what he looks like. I'll be able to answer the Marvel series as soon as I see him.
yeah. I still need to do season 2 of Jessica Jones, season 2 of
I heard
Luke
that
Cage.
was good. I still
never
haven't done season
finished
2
Iron
either.
Fist.
Stand by. Come. Yeah, no one finished Iron Fist.
Yeah. I'm gonna save my joke.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Daniel Diaz!
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goz.
From the fight capital of the world inside the beautiful Mandalay Race and Sportsbook, this is MMA Junkie Radio, the only show that matters. I am Goz. That is Dan Tom. He does fight analyst work here at MMA Junkie. And the voice you hear in your head, Danny Okers.
That's me.
Hey.
And I'm thinking Gorgeous George. Yeah, right?
I am. I'm
There he
here.
is. Okay.
Our volume was turned down, so I started talking, Goz.
I thought it was a
and then I
joke.
realized, oh, wait a minute. This is going to make no sense here. But no, I'm here. Michael Boyle stepped out for a second. He hadn't flipped me on. But I'm in Costa Mesa at the KOCI Studios, 101.5 Classic Rock. Check it out, folks. What's up, guys?
Not much.
Joe.
How about you?
Chilling like a villain. Just doing my thing. Shout out to Geronimo Salcido.
The dog?
Look here, dog. Yeah. I was going to say, look here, dog. We
King Mo?
apparently haven't gotten off on the right foot. But I hope that me shouting you out, now maybe we'll be cool or whatever. And but you got to give me a break. You got to give me a chance, dog.
What happened?
Yeah, Vanessa's dog, the late Vanessa's dog. She had rescued him 6 months ago, On day one, he was really worn out, so I got to like see him and pet him, but not much. But the next day, he started growling at me and barking at me for no reason. And then last night when I got home, everything seemed to be cool, but a lot of people were in the room. And then this morning we had to go through another episode, so I don't know. I don't know what's up, Ghost, but it's not that big of a dog, and I know I can master it, and we shouldn't have any problems, but I figured I'd give him a shout out. It can't hurt, right?
I have a video of Geronimo when he was a lot smaller, and we were playing with him in the front yard, and you know how his front yard is like elevated, right? He just dove right off of the top and just completely disappears in the video. I'll have to send it to you. It's pretty funny. He was okay, of course.
So you've met Geronimo then?
Oh, yeah, I met him a bunch of times.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like disappears,
All
like
right.
like he's
Well-
gone.
Yeah, I'll show you. Go ahead.
So, guys, today's going to be a fun show, as always. It's the last show of the week, and, we have a big fight card on Saturday. I was telling Big Ralph's dad, he asked me, is there an event this week? I go, yeah, man, it's on Big Fox, it's free. And when I named off the card, guys, he's like, man, he goes, those are some pay-per-view names. And then I started thinking about UFC 228, and prior to Woodley Till, that wasn't a pay-per-view card, you know what I mean? Like, it had some names, don't get me wrong. There's a world champion there, and Shevchenko's an awesome challenger, and there's some few ranked fighters, but you know how there's those star power pay-per-view names? A few of those were missing at the top. So it was a big rescue for the UFC to get Till and Woodley. And we'll have to touch on that whole scenario there with, what they're going to do with Colby Covington on September 8th. That's when he'll be stripped. He hasn't been stripped yet, but that's when he'll be stripped. So we'll talk about all that. But in telling him about, Torres and Jędrzejczyk and Aldo and Stevens and Poirier and Alvarez, he was pretty excited, and I'm getting really excited. Big Fox starts 2 hours early. I know the East Coasters are loving that, UKers as well. But I'm pretty pumped up. Have you guys swayed at all in terms of where you're leaning on Alvarez or Poirier or Stevens and Aldo?
The Alvarez-Poirier fight, like the first one was just so nutty that I feel like you can't even really break it down, because both those guys are the type of guys where as soon as they get hit, they just go nuts. They just become something else that they're not.
Yeah, right.
And so I can't really go back and forth on that one. But the one that I've heard a couple people make a little bit more of an argument for was Tisha Torres not being such an underdog in that fight. And I don't know if you guys saw the picture that Joanna put last night before weigh-ins, but man, she looks real thin. And I hope her weight cut's going fine. And then Aldo Stevens, I've just heard people give so many different takes on that fight. I'm really excited to watch this card.
Yeah, as you know, with me, my picks are locked in by this point. My articles are up at MMAjunkie. My main card breakdown will be dropping sometime today, hopefully this morning. But yeah, I'm pretty locked in. I will say, though, the lines are indicative to what Goes was saying about Tisha Torres. I've seen it come a little closer. Joanna's not as much of a favorite. And something else, you guys know that I've been on Jeremy Stevens early since the beginning, but the public actually has swayed the lines, and we're actually seeing Jose Aldo as an underdog, guys, which is crazy to me. Now, I'm picking Stevens here, but I can't believe you're getting a plus sign next to Jose Aldo, which I know has got to be kind of itching at George if I know him pretty well. Hey, George?
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan. The one thing I've noticed is you can pick like a motherfucker. I don't like going against you, that's for damn sure. And the minute you said Stevens, I went, oh, like my shoulders slumbered. And I thought, man, I really have to think about things. Now, that said, if you look at the stat picks, obviously you've taken some losses. We all take losses. Nobody's undefeated in 2018, but you definitely have a respectable record. You at the top of the junkie picks. Now, this is one where I'm just going to politely disagree, because I really love what I saw out of Aldo, even in a loss, as crazy as it sounds, against Holloway. He still has speed. He has power. He has some of that recklessness from when he first started in the WEC, where he actually went for it. I felt like as a champion, he became more of a chess player, and a lot of times he would coast to a decision. I'm in the lead. I'm just gonna kick your ass. Get my hand raised. Now that said, I think he was breaking his foot and he was bruising his shins and things like that. So I get it, but something about the road back to get his title, I've seen a little bit more of that hungry Jose Aldo. So I'm riding with him because I know I'm never going to get, well, I shouldn't say never, but I'll rarely get great odds with Aldo, if anything, even as an underdog. So that's one guy I like. And then I really think Jędrzejczyk is way better than Tisha Torres. I'm just scared of the mental side, but not scared enough that I won't back Joanna Jędrzejczyk. The one that I'm having nightmares, I mean, I'm tossing and turning, just thinking about how my parlays could be destroyed, is Poirier and Alvarez. Now, I'm going to ride with Poirier no matter what, but Alvarez is a stud, and that guy comes through in those firefights, and sometimes Poirier, as much as he tries not to, as he's become more of a veteran, and especially in the lightweight division, he's become, again, more of like a chess player. He still can be a little bit reckless because, he's a country boy, man. He's gotten down all his life. He's scrapped all his life. So if that comes out of it and they just swing leather, man, them chins get touched and anyone can get down. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. I'm still going to back Poirier. But that's how I'm feeling about those three fights.
Man, I just got to say one thing. Just kind of a rule of thumb. That one scares me, George, because it's a close fight with close odds. Now, I'm okay with, by rule of thumb, now every fight, every person's different. Do what you will, of course. But if I'm going to bet a close fight, I want to bet a close fight with long odds, more along the lines of Tisha Torres and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, where I'm on Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I'm not going to bet Tisha Torres, but I'm just saying Tisha Torres, if you look at who's traditionally been favored, she, like Jose Aldo, she's always been like minus 300 plus favorites if you look at her history. It's rare to get a plus sign next to her name. So if you feel that's a close matchup, but the odds are long, and you're going to get the, I know Joey Odessa, shout out to him. He hates that word value, but you're going to get that value. But just real quick, George, can I touch on something you said at the top of the show? Because I think it's up your alley.
Sure.
You said something about pay-per-view stars, right? As far as upcoming pay-per-view not being there yet, and it made me think of like, man, it feels like we're kind of lacking a lot of pay-per-view stars right now. But just kind of off the top of your guys' head, I know the outline here. Off the top of your guys' head, what's a rough number like that the UFC would need right now to a healthy number of pay-per-view stars? 15, 20, and I guess B, the other side to it, because George, you've pulled this on us before, where you say come up with a list at the end of the show, guys. Do you think that we all could come up with a list to fill? Let's say if we come up with the arbitrary number, 15 or 20, could we, even us being hardcores, could we come up with a list by the end of the show and to toss back and forth to one each other of some names who are pay-per-view guys now?
I would say 12 is a good number. Just
it's fair.
One every month.
I think that's fair.
Well, one every month.
Oh, that's it, guys? Just 12 pay-per-view stars on the UFC roster?
Well, no, I'm saying you're saying what the bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum.
Right?
That is the bare minimum, right?
12, right?
Yeah.
You have one at least that go every month.
You pair them with somebody who's
of course,
commensurate.
It'd be great if there were 30 or 40, but I'm just saying bare minimum. You'd at least need 12.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, no, I'm on a completely different. Either I misunderstood the question, or I'm just on a different.
No.
Here, but
I think
I was thinking that you need 2 to tango, right?
Yes.
So right away, if there's 12 pay-per-views, there's actually 13 per year, but let's just go with 12. I think it's a more round number. So 12 pay-per-views, you need 2 to tango. That right there means 24. And then I also thought you need co-main event to support, because if you know, the UFC really tries to double up on titles, which is something they started a few years ago, and now I'm wondering if it's biting them in the ass, because it's almost like, let's say they go, hey, Demetrius is defending against Henry Cejudo, it'll be his 12th defense, oh my god, he's the greatest, he's the GOAT, he's the this, he's the that. We're all sitting going, that's great, but what else do you got? Because they've kind of like babied us and spoiled us so that we feel like, oh, well, Demetrius isn't enough, which he is, by the way, because I love just mixed martial arts. I'm not worried so much about the pay-per-view buys, but I know that the casual fan wants more, so now you got to look at, well, now let's book a co-main event to back some of these champions up. So if we're doing that, we're doing main and co-main, that's 4 fighters times the 12 pay-per-views, that's 48, and I still feel like, guys, that featured bout, that third fight, that one's got to be pay-per-view worthy. So now we're talking about another 24 fighters. So I'm looking at 72, and that's if everybody's healthy. I was even going to maybe pad it a little and say maybe something like 80.
Aren't stars people that sell over maybe 500,000?
Let me come in the middle of you guys. I get what you guys are both saying. Let me just come in the middle real quick. Goes went
Danny, save that, please.
Sorry. Get that drop.
Got it.
Oh no.
I have a feeling I'll say it again at some point.
With Gozes is like the super low end where it's like 12 is, and that means we're getting Kuniskaya Cyborg every month, right? It's going to be that kind of a that kind of a low end.
I'm just thinking where the UFC has 12 people that could maybe sell over 500.
Right in that slot. And I would say George isn't wrong where he's going, but I will just cut him off at the co-main event because co-main event, let's be honest, guys, whether it's a big name, a title fight, or a fight for the hardcores, that is already overachieving for what we expect of the co-main event. Very few times when we're complaining about a card are we ever complaining about the co-main event, and that's also what from the UFC brass. That's also not what determines what they pull the trigger, right? The co-main event. So just looking at the main event, I think 20 is a fair number here, right? We got 12 pay-per-views. You look at the divisions per champion, and yes, ideally we would like 2 champions or 2 big names or 2 undefeated people. But sometimes you're also gonna have a big name paired up with a filler name, and not to be rude and pick on Kunitskaya, who I'll just use again. You know what I'm saying? So let's just say 20. Would 20 be a fair number? Do you think, guys, for this 20? Now that's UFC. That's people probably that are gonna be 150K to 100,000 buys plus that can get that. Keep in mind, Nunes Shevchenko had trouble, and there's been pay-per-views that have trouble hitting that. So with that in mind, with those parameters in mind, guys, is 15 to 20 a fair number?
Okay, so when you put it in those terms, meaning, hey, these guys need to carry pay-per-views, then yes, I would say that's a pretty good number. But I thought you meant in terms of getting us pumped up over whether this should be a pay-per-view card. I usually start at the top and I go about 2, 3, 4 fights down and go, oh yeah, because honestly I'm a little picky. I want all 5 on the main card to make sense. You can't just throw something in there unless you got 2 great champions or 2 big names where I'll go, oh okay. Like really, no disrespect to Khalil Roundtree and Gokhan Saki, they were on 226, right? They were on the main card.
Yes.
Right. Well, I don't believe they're main card worthy, but maybe because you had originally Holloway and Ortega, and then you also had the other one. I guess maybe one could go, well, this is a fight they can sneak in, and maybe one of them becomes a star. And Khalil did become more of a star that night by knocking out Saki. But I wouldn't look at the card and go, oh man, I'm getting it because all these other fights and the Khalil Saki matchup, woohoo, can't miss that one. Because in reality, that one should be on a Fox Sports. But check this out. You also got James Vick and Justin Gaethje. I'm not saying they could headline a pay-per-view because you're not going to get 500,000 or anything like that buys out of them, but they could be a number 3 on a pay-per-view, and they're being used on a Fox Sports headliner. So a lot of those Fox Sports headliners, you could slide them into the featured bout on some cards, or maybe even co-main event. You know what I mean? Because you look at them and you go, barn burner.
I completely feel you, George. I co-sign on those points. I guess I was just hanging on to where this rooted from was your original statement. I believe you used the words of superstars or something like that. And when we usually associate that, or when the UFC brass or Dana's using that word, they usually associate it as far as who they're going to hang their pay-per-view on. And for sure, how we feel about it is definitely part of the equation for me. And you make a great case there, so I'm not disagreeing with that. But I guess that's where you spawned this idea off of me was you using that word superstar. And I feel like if we were to get down to it, that a lot of our lists, I feel like we'd have a disproportionate amount of names, like you just said, perfect names, Vic and Gaethje. I think most of the list would be guys who were like, these guys are right there with the right matchup. They could be a pay-per-view matchup, but they're not going to draw by themselves. And I think the problem is that there's so many of those guys, and that's the criticism. I think even I was watching one of our scrums on MMAjunkie on our YouTube channel for people that aren't subscribing. We're streaming now on there. Alex Fernandez was talking about the UFC needs more stars right now, and it was making me think about that. Like, yeah, we have all these guys on the cusp, but yeah, just thinking out loud, guys.
What's the pay-per-view number that you have to sell for you to be considered a star? Because there's like superstar, right? That's probably like GSP, Conor, but just a star.
I think that's such a low minority.
Is it like 400 maybe?
I think 400 because I think BJ Penn was like a 400. He was like the middle class guy where they could always count on it. He wasn't the super high guy, but he was always a good 400K was BJ Penn's average, for example. If we're going off of a star, so I think it would have to be at least above 400K for that argument. But I guess what I'm talking about is maybe maybe not what I'm talking about, but the climate we're at today is now it comes down to 100 or 150 in the sense of how much is it going to take for the UFC brass to pull the trigger, because at the end of the day they're the ones making the decisions, as outlandish as they may seem.
It's so weird the way they're I wish we could just ask them one day, but their strategy to me seems like they're not really selling you on pay-per-view per event.
Uh-huh.
They just sell you on like the whole package. So like George is
Yeah,
right. They'll give
yeah,
you
right,
one where
right.
it's like 3 dope-ass fights. And you're paying the same price as the next month where you just have maybe one main event that you really like and then the rest of it. But I think they're just kind of going like, hey, man, we know you're going to order it anyway. So, we'll make one really, really stacked, another one, okay. I think they sell you on the overall product, and I wish it was a little bit more balanced.
Yeah.
But then again, let's say instead of having the 3 dope fights and you cut it to 2, now the other one has 2. All it takes is 1 injury. Now you're left with 1. So I don't know, man. I think they try and stack those big events that they really want to make a splash. And I think they overbook them because they know guys just fall out of injury so much. Who knows, man?
Well, check this out. I have a list of the recent title fights, all right? And we're going to go name by name here. And then right away, I just want to hear from you guys if you think they're a superstar or not. Daniel Cormier versus Volkan Ozdemir. This is the last light heavyweight fight that Daniel Cormier had, if I'm not mistaken. We would all agree Daniel Cormier is not just a star, but probably a superstar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Today's standard, we're going to active list. He's right at the top, sure. Yeah, toward the top.
Okay. Volkan Ozdemir, had he won, he would have maybe been a star, but not even that big of a star. For sure not a superstar. But now that he lost, I just consider him a light heavyweight contender. I don't really consider him a star. How about you guys?
I don't consider him a star. And I don't even know that if he would have won, I don't even know we could say he would be a star.
Yeah.
I think maybe it would take one more fight for him to really show something, and then he would become that.
Cosign.
Miocic and Ngannou. Miocic is obviously a star. I don't think he's a superstar. Well, for one, is a superstar just sells more than 500 pay-per-views?
Yeah,
is that a round number?
I think
is
a
that good,
superstar would be like Conor, GSP, those type of people. And then I think a star is just somebody that can
okay.
sell over
So then
400.
Cormier is just a star. Cormier is just a star. Then he's not a superstar.
We don't know.
He's not like Conor and GSP.
If he has the right dance partner, then yeah, I guess he does become a superstar, right? Like
True.
If you match him up with John Jones, but so I would say he's like on that borderline.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Cormier, we'll just call him a star. Whether he's a star or superstar, that's really what we're getting at. Miocic, then I think we can call him a star. Ngannou, is he a star? He came up short. Had he won, I know he would have become a bigger star than he is, but he lost, and now he's lost again since Miocic defended against him, and then him and Cormier fought. But what would you have thought of Ngannou had he won?
Had he won, yeah, I think he would have been a star. I think right now he probably fell right below that line of being a star, I think.
So do I.
I would say right below, but maybe even more so, because let's think about it, not just winning, but there was the fight after that made him almost take the 2 steps back. And, not that he's not beyond reprieve or anything, but yeah, as far as right now, or I wouldn't even say he's within the cusp. I wouldn't put him on the, I would put the Vic and Gaethje examples that George gave earlier, I'd put him ahead of him in the power ranking as far as that goes.
Yoel Romero versus Luke Rockhold. That was another title fight. That was booked as a title fight. It was an interim title fight. It didn't go off as one. Well, it did for half of them. Luke Rockhold could have became the champ. He lost, though, and Romero, because he missed weight, could not become the champ. But do you guys consider Romero and Rockhold stars, or to what degree of stardom do you consider them?
I put him with Ngannou, like just right below that.
Well, I put him up there with I put him actually a notch above Vic and Gaethje. But here's the problem, which kind of speaks to the problem at hand, which is another reason why we might be getting all these influx of titles in and out that the UFC is doing to us, right? Is that Rockhold and Romero deserve respect, especially Rockhold. He's a former champion. But the problem is, unless those guys have a belt on them, they're not going to be they're not going to be drawing. If you put them, you could put them in the most enticing, most relevant matchup at the top of a pay-per-view, and maybe even lower that pay-per-view entry point. And I still think that your per buys are going to be real low, and that's no disrespect to those guys. You need belts on them, which kind of speaks to the problem. What maybe the decisions going on with the UFC.
All right, let's finish out a couple more. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll take a run of calls.
Cool.
866-522-2846. Get in the queue right now. Now, look at this one. This one was a fight that took place. Cyborg and Kunitskaya. You see what I'm saying? Cyborg's see, this one's confusing because that's the whole complexity of mixed martial arts. Look at this. That matchup is not pay-per-view worthy per se. We're just watching to see Cyborg destroy Kunitskaya, but we're also watching because what if Cyborg loses? I can't possibly miss it. So I'm going to tune in to see if Kunitskaya happens to be Buster Douglas that night. You know what I mean? But that said, I think Cyborg sells pretty good. I think if you sell over 250, I think the UFC kind of gives you that fist bump and says, "Hey, welcome to the club." You know what I mean? we really like you, and we're gonna move our year around for people like for sure Conor McGregor, GSP, John Jones, and then as you start to go downwards towards Stipe and Woodley and whoever else, I mean they have a little bit of a play, you know what I mean? But I think Cyborg's one of them. I think when Cyborg fights, it's becoming pretty special because of her Mike Tyson X type of destruction of her opponents.
No, I would agree with that.
I'd agree too.
I'm starting to think maybe we need a third classification. Superstar,
I know.
star, and something
I know.
else.
We're all over the
right?
place.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
you're
sorry.
right,
What did I start?
The way you just labeled them, that makes sense. So maybe that.
And look
maybe
at
a number
Nama
like
Yunus
that,
and
250.
Jacek.
I think if anything,
Nama Yunus and Jacek, they fought. Joanna, I think, was starting to become a little bit of a star, maybe a 200 per case. Man, I don't even know if that. But see, it's weird because on the pay-per-view front, she's not a star if we're classifying like 250 and more or 500 and more. But I think if you throw on a pay-per-view, you accept it. Now, you also want another title fight, or you better have one hell of a co-main event, and then you stomach it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I completely know what you're saying, but let me ask you this, guys. Does this conversation at least make you kind of sympathize? Now, don't get me wrong. The UFC, they make their own bed. They influence the market. They're responsible for their decisions. We don't have to agree with them, as a fan or whatever, but does it at least make you sympathize their position as far as maybe these questionable decisions we might scratch our head at when this conversation we're having, it's more complicated than we think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get it.
Well, it does and it doesn't because I think. Look, I have no problem if you headline DJ versus Michael Boyle, who's sitting in front of me, all right? If it's these two fighting, and I know, like, hey, somehow Michael Boyle got himself into the fight, but Demetrius is great, okay, no problem. You don't have to give me another title fight. You really don't. I'll take it if you're going to give it to me, but just give me 4 quality matchups. Give me Gagey versus Vic. Give me Rockhold versus Weidman. I think they're doing that in New York. Like those types of matchups, Barboza and Felder. Just give me 4 other matchups that back up whoever champion, whose ever turn it is to defend around that time, and I'm fine. But the UFC has kind of given you 2 title fights. One, because they have to keep some of those divisions healthy, but 2, I think they also know that they're lacking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have to give you these 2 title fights, and then the next 3 hopefully are enough so that you pay the pay-per-view. But they also have to keep some of those Rockholds and Weidmans and Vicks and Gageys and Kevin Lees to the side to headline these other fucking fight nights and fight pass cards. It's such a mess. Do I envy them? No, because they're trying to do total domination of the world, and if you're going to do that, then guess what? Some of your cards are going to suffer, some of your pay-per-views are going to suffer, and the fans are going to have a backlash. But at the same time, like the matchmaker, I do feel for them because they're being told what to do and they got to work some magic. But the executives and the higher ups and the ones that bank all this money, no, I don't feel sorry for them because this is the pickle they're in.
Right.
Okay, well, what do you guys think of this? Star.
Okay.
And under star, maybe you have guys like DJ, Cruz, Garbrandt. Superstar, Cormier, Stipe, Cyborg. And then megastar, Conor, GSP, John Jones, Brock.
Jeez, I was gonna say even like superstar, megastar. That you don't need more than 2 hands for both those combined, though, right?
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
But as far as classification
that's
goes,
perfect.
is that making sense?
Oh, that's perfect classification.
George?
Yeah. As far as like,
are you on board with that, or?
I think
there's a separation line between each of them.
I think there's the guy that makes a million or more.
That's megastar.
He doesn't have to do it every time. And then I think there's the 500 to a million.
That would be
and then
superstar.
I even think there's 250 to 500. You might have to make a 4th. And then I just think there's you can't like Demetrius Johnson's not even going to sell 250. But I think he's a great fighter. So he's somewhere between 1 and 250. You got to call him something. If you just want to call him a star and then come up with 3 other tiers, then I'm good with that. But I think we actually need a 4th tier. Tell you what, we'll tackle that when we come back. Think about that when we come back. We got to take some calls, and then we got to pay some bills. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on the new Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tax. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Did you miss ESPNU's radio conversation with your school coach and star players during college football media days? All those interviews are available and more on SiriusXM app. On the SiriusXM app, just search ESPNU interviews. All right, let's take a couple quick calls, Goes. Who do we have?
Looks like we have Marco from Waco.
Hey.
What's up, Marco?
Marco from Waco, ¿qué pasa, Atos?
What's up, man?
¿Qué pasa, man?
So, I went to pick up my son that he's visiting me from Germany yesterday. So, say hi, Marcelo. Hey. Hey, hi.
Hi.
What's up?
That's my son. It's my 15-year-old from Germany, man. I haven't seen this kid since he was 2.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's quite a reunion.
Nice.
Yeah, it is. I'm quite happy. I was quite emotional. Daddy almost cried yesterday, but it's okay. Hey, you guys talking about this pay-per-view business, man. And I don't know, man, of all the major entities that do pay-per-views, the UFC is the only one that is really making a profit. I mean, boxing, for all the talk, they only got 2, maybe 1 big pay-per-view a year. The rest kind of tank, or they don't do them at all. The WWE completely went out of the pay-per-view business because, guess what? They probably make more on the network. But in the average, man, even if you do 200,000 pay-per-view per pay-per-view a year, that is $198 million of revenue a year. Even if all of them were 200,000 straight, that is about the average. Not even the WWE can do with their network. The more they put with 1.5 million freaking subscribers is 158 million a year. So at the end of the day, this pay-per-view business ain't going anywhere, man. And with the megastar that can pull $1 million once in a while, then the numbers go, to the stratosphere. So what are we complaining about, man? We're the only business that actually makes a profit out of pay-per-view right now. That's my question. Peace out.
You know what I've noticed is
During the break.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I noticed that during the break, no, I'm just kidding. People aren't missing pay-per-views. I think where they're making the adjustments, and I think George brought this up last week, was we're just getting hit from every angle. And it's these little things. $10 for this, $10 for that, DAZN, Fight Pass, Planet Fitness, whatever. It all starts to add up. Sling TV. We feel like we're saving money, but really we're just adding a lot of these little things that nick you here and there. I don't think people miss pay-per-views. I think what's happening now is just more of us are getting together at someone's house versus back in the day it was just like, let's just pull the trigger and get the pay-per-view.
Right. We were saying during the break we're going to restructure our labels as far as star, superstar, megastar, and then I think we'll talk a little bit more about like who's what and who's appropriate to each label in regards to MMA. Now, let's not forget, if the UFC sells, I think it's 150 or 125 pay-per-views, 125 or 150,000 pay-per-views. Everything else after that is profit. The UFC won't like it. They'd rather see 400,000 or 800,000 or $1 million. I get that. But if they at least sell those others, they're profitable and they're okay because in the process, they might be spawning future superstars. And so that's what they want, is they want to get to a point where that average keeps getting higher and higher. Now, over the years, it's gotten lower and lower. But that said, their TV deals have gone higher and higher. Their digital platform became more lucrative as well. And all the other, TV deals that they have overseas where they get to watch the pay-per-view for free, they keep doing better there as well. So make no mistake, either way, the pay-per-view business is profitable for the UFC. It's just that they would like more of those $1 million hits. The more often, the better. But I don't think they actually count on them. They just know that when it happens, it's special. But after we take some calls, I think we're going to try and restructure the label of what a star is, what a superstar is, because I think we went down that road, and I think we fumbled it a little bit. But I'd like to clarify a little bit, because I think anybody that sells over $1 million, I want to call them a superstar. And then I think there's another category of 500 to $1 million. And that's actually where GSP resided for many years. That's kind of where John Jones resided as well. And you got to admit, guys, as great of fighters as they are, they're not $1 million guys like Conor was, how Lesnar was at one point, and how Ronda was. Those are the three that I think of. You know what I mean? As far as like the ones that really, really became just uber, mega, whatever adjective you want to throw in, that type of level of a star. So I want to classify them over $1 million, 500,000 to $1 million, 250,000 to 500,000, and then something like 100,000 to 250. I think would be the last category. So we have to think of four names out there. We tried going down the road of star, but Ghost came up with famous star. And if you're on the West Coast and you eat at Carl's Jr. from time to time, you'll kind of get a little chuckle out of that one. If you're on the East Coast, you'll just think like, oh my God, this guy sounds like an idiot. What the hell's a famous star?
I thought it was
you can't really.
It was star, famous star, superstar, and mega star. I think mega star should be your top. I think superstar should be the next one.
No,
I don't know what that.
If we commit to that, can you imagine us? Can you imagine us on a future broadcast
no,
going,
we have to get rid of famous
Cody
star.
Garbrandt, he's a famous star. That was awful,
I was just had to give you a name for something, but we got to fix famous star.
I don't know, think of like power player or, you know what I mean, mover and shaker. I don't know. Well, we don't have to stick with the star theme is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Let's give it some time. Let's let it marinate, and you think of it. Dan will think of it. Danny, myself, Junkie Nation, and we'll see if we can figure it out maybe by the end of the show. Because, all right. Was there another caller we had, Danny?
There was. It's John from New Jersey.
John from New Jersey. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? The first thing I want to say is that all my friends watch that Buffalo Wild Wings pay-per-view, so that could be another big thing.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who do that too. I think it's like, $20 or something like that, right?
No, it's free. So
really?
McGregor will pay $20 for it, but all the pay-per-views are free. You can just order it. Like a meal for $15 and watch the whole thing for free.
Okay.
But the main thing I want to talk about was the game set against Keith Torres. I'm concerned about Torres with his inside, those hooks and the power. I was wondering if you guys think he's going to be able to get inside on Jacek, or in Jacek with the jab and utilizing those long, rangy punches, he's not going to be able to get inside. Like, how do you see it playing out?
Thank you for the call. Dan, you want to start off?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's something I noticed about Tisha Torres where she had really good transitions from her strikes to her wrestling, and she spent, obviously, she grew as an American top team product. But if you look in her last 3 to 4 fights when she was making her transition, she's been more aggressive. She actually got her first finish, a rear naked choke. And she's been more aggressive to go for those submissions, but she's losing a lot more positions. And the wrestling to me wasn't looking as I don't know if as sharp is the fair way to put it, but she's not going to it as much. Now, that doesn't mean she's not going to go to it here. The problem is Jacek has really good takedown defense, even though she can be taken down. She has really good get-ups from the cage, a good single-leg get-up. And as far as inside and clinch fighting, Tisha Torres was able to rock Rose Namajunas with a left hook in their rematch, even though she lost a split decision there. She did really well against Rose in those inside spaces, but let's not forget, Joanna Jacek just eats girls up in the clinch. I mean, all dating back to her Esparza fight, with those short elbows and stuff. So it's a really hard road to hoe for Torres, and I'm a big Torres fan, so that's why I'm on the other side of her. But she can get on the inside, yes. The problem is there's just a lot of problems to deal with once she gets there.
Yeah, and I would just say, look, Tisha Torres is a quality strawweight, but I've always felt like if an atomweight division opened up, she may make a run at that, just because she says that her walk around is 120. Now, that said, that's still 15 pounds, and she's very muscular. So even then, I don't know. Maybe she's one of the ones that got caught in between. Whereas if we were boxing and we had a 110 weight pound class, maybe she would try that. 105 might be too much, but who knows? But at the end of the day, look, of course, anybody that can throw a punch packs a certain amount of power. But Tisha does I don't think she has the type of power where she can drop and end the fight with Jacek. And along the ways, I think she's just going to get out-muscled and outstruck by Jacek, where Jacek is dangerous. As far as Tisha being more dangerous on the ground, yeah, probably if it was a grappling match. But Dan covered it. It's tough to take her down. It's tough to keep her down in terms of JJ. And that's where I thought Andrade was going to have a field day with Jacek. And if Andrade couldn't get the job done, I don't think Tisha's going to get it done on the ground. So it's just going to be more of a stand-up fight, and I just don't like her chances. All right, let's take this other break, and then we'll see if we can come up with a surprise guest for you for this next run here in the first hour. It's MMA Junkie Radio on the new Fight Nation, Channel 83.
They were abducted by aliens and instantly returned for raiding all their snacks. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
NBA Radio is your headquarters for all things basketball this summer. From free agency signings, like the mega deal that got done by the Lakers and LeBron James, to trade rumors and social media gossip. Whether it's happening on or off the court this offseason, we're discussing it on NBA Radio, Sirius 207, XM86, and streaming on your phone or at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. Yes, I added a little bit to that read. Suck it, everybody. We got LeBron. Ain't that right, Michael Boyle? You're a SoCaler, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I were to ask Mike Boyle, who's LeBron? He'd go, I don't know. Does he play for the Ducks?
Did you play for the Ducks?
You know who LeBron James is, Michael Boyle?
Yeah, he plays basketball.
For who?
That's a damn Tom answer.
Well, no, prior to that. He hasn't played for the Lakers yet.
Not the Pacers. What was the...
I told you he'd fall apart. He's a hockey guy, and that's it.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought
Ohio.
I thought you were a baseball guy,
not
too.
Bad. You can't just... somewhere in Ohio. There's not that many big cities in Ohio.
Oh, the Cavaliers.
There you go.
I thought Mike Boyle was like a little bit of a baseball guy, too. No?
He is. That's what I was saying. Oh, yeah. You're right. I keep saying hockey, but he's baseball, too.
Yeah, Angels.
Goes, you happy with Manny Machado?
Yeah. I mean, how could you not, right? I mean, you're going to get a quality player, but I don't know. Our whole deal for years has just been kind of like chemistry. I don't know why it just feels like every other team you can plug holes and all. Shut up, Dan. And everybody gets fired up and everything works. But for us, chemistry's always been a problem.
Okay. Well, folks, out this morning /afternoon /evening /tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world, Renzo Gracie got a win at 51 years old, guys. He defeated Yuki Kondo in the second round at one championship out in Manila. It was a rear naked choke. And, I mean, okay, for sure, that's got to be a swan song, his retirement fight. But how cool is that, man, to be able to go through a camp, stay healthy, travel, and then go out there and perform one last time and get the win. And not only that, the guy was 10 years younger than him. So, I think that's important. At 51, he was fighting, obviously, somebody else. I wouldn't call it the senior circuit, but someone else who was past their prime, but yet also a challenge. It was a challenge for Renzo Gracie. And he went out there and he got it done, man, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Totally. I can't say this enough. The One Championship app is incredible. It's so easy. It sent me texts in the morning telling me, hey, the card's about to start. Every fight, it tells you right before the fight starts, go ahead and click on that thing. You click it. It's so clear. You can even follow the fighters really easily. It's awesome. And I actually made it a point to try and figure out when I could get here and get ready and still be able to watch that fight. And the card was pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, no doubt. Shinya Aoki also got a win. Such a shame that we never got to see him in the UFC. I think he's past his mid-30s as well. I think he's 36 last time I checked. But Michael Chavello, I'll always want to support him. He was always a good friend of the show. He lived in Vegas for, I think, almost 10 years. And I always like hearing him on the call. Dan, what were you going to say?
Oh, no. I was just nodding like, wow. I didn't believe that Shinya Aoki's that old. Yeah, I think he missed his window. I'd argue, guys, off the top of my head, his closest window was when BJ Penn was at Dominance. They couldn't really find anybody, and they were talking about maybe bringing him in, but he really didn't. There really wasn't a close window, right, where he almost got over.
Didn't he have one fight in Strikeforce with
he
Gilbert?
He did, but it was a one
maybe
deal.
That was when he would maybe make that transition over.
Yeah, that crushed him a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that was a one-off too.
Definitely crushed him.
It's the pants. They would have let him fight with pants. I think he would have been in the UFC.
Yeah, there we go. The pants. Magic pants.
So check this out, guys. Also, all of the fighters in Calgary have made weight. Not one came in over. So good on those guys and gals. And we're talking about, 4 on the main card, 4 on the prelims, and then there's 5 on the Fight Pass prelims. That's 13 fights, 26 fighters, and we have nothing to chat about in terms of, what are we going to do? That's his second or third time. 30% goes to the opponent.
Thank God.
Should they be taking it or declining it? Will the UFC pay their show money? Have you thought about that? When fighters don't make weight, oh my God, we're talking about so many other bullshit topics. Should the fighter take the fight, and will they be suspended? Will they have to move up in a weight class? And what does the UFC think? What do the matchmakers think? You know what I mean? And now we can just go, okay, all the fighters made weight. Next topic.
No, that's a great point, George, which almost makes me want to just kind of give credit to this card, because when I was researching this card, aside from maybe a match or two, this is a really good card. I mean, from the top to bottom. I mean, George was giving us a good layout as far as what you look for a selling point, and was given a nice layout of depth. And I think this card really checks those when you go top to bottom. And to use an analogy, if you guys give me this answer, if they're saying, you're accusing, we're in the lame duck period, right, of Fox, we're just mailing it in with all these shows, we're filling content. That's the kind of negative narrative that we could take about it, right? That we're just doing our time till we go to ESPN. But to me, this is not the kind of card that tells me that. This is the kind of card that tells me they're trying to take Fox out on a date, maybe score later. This is the kind of card you present. Is this are you trying to score on a date with this kind of a card, George, or is this kind of like you're just trying to mail it in and get to the end of it because you got a game to get home?
Oh no, scoring for sure, man. Get the GHB out. Just kidding.
It's callback there.
No, but listen, Alvarez, Poirier, Aldo, Stevens. I mean, when you start off like that and then back it up with a former champ like Joanna and Tisha. After that, man, just come out strong, and the rest, I'll slowly take it in and either nod my head, fist bump you, or maybe give you the finger wag like Dikembe, well, maybe not that one. But seriously, just come out strong on any card, and I think the fans will appreciate any effort that comes behind it. With the exception of GSP when he was in Montreal, God, the rest of the card would just not look good at all. And I think what they'll probably wind up doing with Khabib and Conor, which will be, here you go, here's Khabib and Conor, and then after that there'll be a drop off. For the most part, aside from that, I think they should always just try and build a strong card, but start off with something like that. You start off with Alvarez and Poirier, and all of us go, wow, the first edition was amazing. I can't wait for this one. They're both ranked fighters. They're both contenders. One's a former champion. I'm in. Then you give me Aldo and Stevens, same thing. That reaction will hold me over. Look, Olivier Aubin-Mercier versus Alexander Hernandez. Well, you know, all right, what are you going to do? I'm not the biggest OAM fan, but Alexander did have a nice debut against Benil. So that's why I'll give you that pass and go, hey, that's a solid main card. I'm not going to be the asshole that goes, Alvarez Poirier, check mark. Aldo Stevens, check mark. Joanne and Tisha, check mark. Well, but that other one's got OAM, and he goes to it. I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to go, main card, solid, check mark. You know what I mean? And then as we drop off, we got Jordan Mean versus Alex Morano. Okay, you know, don't expect me to do backflips there. Hakeem Dawodu versus Austin Ornette. All right. Kajan Johnson versus Islam Makhachev. I really like Islam Makhachev and you know what could come out of his future. You know, and then there's a few other fights where I start to think, well, yeah, you know, the prelims could have been better. But then you buried down at the prelims towards the bottom is Matthias Nicolau versus Dustin Ortiz. And I really think that's a solid matchup. So they gave me a little bit of love down there. They sprinkled in a few other fights down there. But again, when you started at the top with those three matchups, I was already in, and I have no critique headed your way.
I will just add to it though. There are some, and again, this isn't something that's going to expect to sell a card over. But what I like is at least their storylines. Even matchups like Amin Morano or John McDessie, Ross Pearson. Those are more matchups where it's like all those guys haven't been the most consistent. They really need performances, and it's really going to say what's going to happen going forward. Whereas Morano, Mean, young guys. Granted, Mean's had a lot of fights, but they're young guys. Or McDessie, Pearson, maybe a little bit of older guys. So different stakes, but high stakes. Or even the female divisions, which I know, George, sometimes you said you haven't been as much of a fan in the past, but I think with those at 125, it's a pretty important one. Alexis Davis and Caitlin Chukagian. I think Chukagian can do some things. Alexis Davis has done some things. Can she kind of reinvent herself? And then the Randa Marcos is, by the way, you like dogs, George. That's an official dog that I picked, by the way. I took Randa Marcos as an underdog against Nina Ansaroff. It's a real competitive matchup.
Wow.
And a real important one.
She's done that type of work before. Been the spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, the wrestling against
the
striking against Ansaroff. I mean, you want a wrestler against a striker like that. You don't want to go against striking against a girl.
We got 2 minutes. We got 90 seconds.
All right.
Tell me more about Ansaroff versus Nina Randa, because I thought Ansaroff might be able to stop Randa, and if they just struck, I like Nina's striking better.
Here's the thing about Nina. It's tricky. You can defend her sample size or you can attack it depending. You look at her losses, grappling pressure from not the most grappling pressure savvy people have been able to stop her, and it makes sense. She comes from a Taekwondo base, and she's a tough girl. Obviously, she's got her relationship with Nunes because she was the only girl that could stand and swing with her. You don't want to stand and swing with a girl who's standing and swinging with Nunes. Whereas Marcos, she's been consistent. She's had jumps arounds too, and inconsistent losses. But both girls have been looking strong. The difference is Marcos is wrestling pressure to go with her boxing, and she's at home. That wrestling pressure at home, that's going to win some scorecards if Nina Ansaroff can't stop her and make it real clear for the judges.
I am with you 100%. I think if you're going to build a parlay, that's a nice place to start.
There we go.
All right. Noted. All right, guys. Good job. In the second hour, we are expecting Jay Hieron to arrive to the studio. Jay Hieron's got a part in The Equalizer 2, which debuted in theaters last weekend. So we'll talk to him again about that experience. He kind of shared a little bit of it when he came by the studio a few months ago, but now that the film's been released, he can talk all about it. That film starts Denzel Washington, and I plan on watching it because I watched Equalizer 1, and I loved it, man. It had some great action in it, and I've always been a big Denzel Washington fan, and I do want to support Jay Hieron because he's gone from stuntman to now kind of having a few little minor roles, and hopefully he can continue to grow. Really proud of that guy. All right, also might have another surprise guest, so stay tuned for the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show on Fight Nation.
some truck Dr. Handsome, bust a nut inside your eye to show you where I come from. I'm vexed, human, I've had it up to here. My days of pain, dues are over. Acknowledgement is in there. Yeah. Head for the corner, go get a taco. I see record from the jump street, meaning from the get-go. Sit back, relax, and let yourself go. Don't sweat what you heard, but act like you know. Yes, yes, y'all. Yes, y'all. You got the vibe, it's the tribe, y'all. Tribe, y'all. Vibe, y'all. Vibe, y'all. Inside, outside, come around. Who's that? Brown. Some may I say, call me Charlie. The word is the herb, and I'm beat like Bob Marley. Lay back on the payback, evolve, rotate the gates.
All right, here we go. Here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Want to welcome to the show Jay Hieron, former UFC and Bellator veteran, and at one point an IFL welterweight champion. Now, of course, doing stuntman work and acting as well, getting some speaking roles in some movies. Really, really proud of the guy. He's moving up in the world. Catch him on The Equalizer 2, which debuted in theaters this past weekend, starring Denzel Washington. What's up, Thoroughbred? How are you?
What's happening? Chilling, brother.
Not much, brother.
Living the dream.
Yeah, man. We're excited to have you. Know what I'm saying?
He gets pretty close.
You put on your your Barry White voice.
You were saying you had the pipes back in the day. You can go high.
Yeah, I used to be able to scream like high pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like at
puberty?
What happens if you do it now?
It's just it doesn't sound right. It still probably hurt your ears, but.
What about haunted houses? If you get scared, what's your reaction? Other than turning around and bashing someone?
Nah, I don't.
You never have that? Like a you know, one of the biggest screams we've ever heard in the studio?
Yeah.
Rashad Evans.
Really?
I used to have this box, all right? And you would open it, and a little rat would come out like that.
Wow.
And it scared the shit out. Do you remember how loud he screamed, George? Him and Miguel Torres had pretty loud screams. You'd never had one of those?
You need that on the B-roll. Nah, back in the day. I try not to put myself in a position to be scared to scream.
You don't have any phobias, spiders, anything like that?
Yeah, I don't like spiders, of course. But
snakes or spiders? Which one's worse?
I'd rather spiders. I don't like spiders.
Yeah, snakes scare the shit out of me, man.
Crawly things. Ugh. Imagine you sleeping and just tarantula crawls up on your face and just lays eggs in your mouth like aliens.
We had a friend that had a cockroach go in his ear one time, and then didn't our buddy something laid eggs in his nose, right?
Oh, that's gross. See, that's
no. I only know a buddy where a roach crawled into his ear.
His brother
was in
had
Brazil.
something in his nose. Remember?
Oh man, terrible.
I don't remember that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. No. Here. Yeah. So here's what happened. So that same buddy, we'll start off with his brother. His brother put on a wig, just playing around, not like a woman's wig, but one of those like shiny green, like there's different colors. You just put them on, or you don't just put them on. I'm saying like, I guess strippers put them on or something like that
in a store
and
at somebody's house.
It was in Brazil. So there's people are just kind of getting their costumes ready.
Brazil cockroach. Oh, okay. That's
it was one of those Brazilian cockroaches. And it came out of that and went in his ear, and then he didn't realize how it happened, because all he thought was, well, I just put on a wig and that's it. And so all of a sudden he needs to get off his feet, because what it did was, once it was in his ear, it affected his equilibrium.
Oh,
and it started freaking him out.
Brain? And he was going to become King Roach.
I think it took a bite out of his brain. No, I'm just kidding.
Sounds like a movie. We can make this. Let's start writing this down. Let's make a script.
He started tripping, and he kind of had to take a chair, and he started getting a headache. And of course, it can get worse than that. But they looked in his ear, and they thought they saw something, so they had to get him to some medics. And those medics had to use some pliers or tweezers or something to go deep in there, and then yank it out. And then he was all right. But in the meantime, yeah. That's what happened. Now, his brother got bit, I think, in Indonesia by some bug, and his nose just grew, it was massive, you know what I mean? And he all of a sudden looked like a toucan.
His nose grew.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, his nose grew, and he had a lot of pus, and he said that if you barely even grazed the nose, he said it felt the most tremendous pain ever, and he had to slowly drain that pus out, all because of a bug that bit him.
And this is the same family, huh?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Same family, yeah. Same jokers.
Bugs like them.
If we did do a movie, all right,
Yeah.
the way you said, it would be about a cab driver, all right?
Okay.
He gets the cockroach, goes up his nose, gets into his brain. We call it Roach Coach.
There you go.
He just drives people around, and he loses his shit, and he kills people.
Okay. for the bugs.
Yeah.
For how many people humans stepped on bugs, he's getting them
He's
back.
getting them back. What do you think, George?
All right, let's talk about Equalizer 2.
Yeah.
You guys are grossing me out.
Number one movie in the
Equalizer
box
2
office
came
over
out,
the
Jay.
weekend.
Congratulations, my man.
Thank you. Happy to be a part of that.
You got to share some scenes with Denzel Washington.
Yes,
I mean,
with the GOAT.
It doesn't get any better than that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you've done a lot in your career, but that had to be at the top or close to.
Yeah, definitely done a lot, but that's the top. Just especially how the scene is. It's so close quarters. We're in a car, and I'm being, just hours on end. I'm just watching them and learning, So it's probably the best school you could have for acting, right? Working with the GOAT and just that close and watching him. And the director, there's an open mic in the car, so him and the director are talking. Antoine Fuqua, great director. He has a great eye for making movies. He shoots action like dialogue, so it's incredible. So just they had an open mic in the car, and him and Denzel would talk, and I'm just a fly on the wall watching. He was giving me instructions.
How many times? How many times did it take to do that scene?
Oh, that scene, we shot it over a period of 4 weeks in over 2 months, but we shot it 4 weeks. Not every day, but like 3 days here, a weekend, a day, because that scene was pretty practical. We did most of that on the street, and they had to get the permits for the street and whatever else entails. So yeah, 4 weeks of that. It looks like a little bitty scene, but it took a while to film it because so much detail.
Well, so anybody that's just listening is probably thinking, "Come on, Jay, 4 weeks for that scene." Explain to us why it takes so long, please.
Just the setups of the cameras, so many different angles, so many different takes. Getting the street permits because we're shooting on real streets that we have to shut down for the scene. So just there's so much involved in it, and then when they're happy with the takes, they do repetitions, man. That's why I respect any actor, because you have to have stamina, because it's take after take after take, and you have to get yourself to the point where you were. And there's a different camera setup, so you have to get the place where you were in that moment for that camera, So it's a lot of repetition. A lot goes involved into making a film.
Let's have a little fun. How many of those can we blame on you, where they had to go up, take 2, take 14, take 23? Were a lot of those your bad, or did you
probably?
All right?
It's probably my bad. I'm with the best in the one of the best in the game, so. I got great feedback, though. We didn't really have. They just, this director likes to get as much as possible, so then he can make his decisions in the editing room what he wants in the movie, So,
right.
Yeah.
And then
I'm sure I probably fumbled. Because Denzel, he gets it deep in the character. So I did one time, there was one, we were going by the script, and then, he just started ad-libbing, improvising and saying lines that weren't in the script. And the first time he did it, I stuttered. I'm like, but I went with it, thankfully. So then after that take, he didn't really talk to me before that time. Then after that take, outside of the script, he didn't really talk to me. Then after that take, he was like, "Oh, I almost had you there, huh?" And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, where you from? And I'm like, oh, New York. And he's like, yeah, you're a fighter, huh? And then he was totally cool. So I guess he was just testing me out, like sparring or whatever. And then the kid, you hit a guy with something good and he still comes forward. So I don't know if it was something like that, but that's what it felt like. And after that, he was totally cool, but still deep in character. And whenever he would talk to me, and whenever he was in his mode, he was doing his thing, I'd leave him alone, of course. It was such tight quarters in a car, so it was the best learning experience just by watching you could probably ever have.
Damn, that sounds cool, man. As you're describing all that, let me sneak one more, Dan, and then you can ask Jay. Just because I want to follow up on this. How long did you guys go, if you had to put time on it, whether it's minutes or hours or days, where you guys didn't talk until you got to the point where you did talk? Was it minutes, hours, or days? And how did that feel? Like, were you anxious? Were you tripping, or not, maybe not insulted, but just kind of like, what's going on here? This is a little bit bizarre, just because you're in such close quarters.
Well, after I booked the role, they kind of told me, hey, listen, he gets deep in the character. I already had the rundown, and of course, it's one of my favorite actors. I watch his movies, I watch his interviews, I watch inspirational stuff from him, so I kind of already knew going in how he is. And I've been around a lot of actors, I've worked a lot of films, I worked a lot of sets. Dude is totally 100% professional. And me coming in, I was like, whatever he needs to get to the place he needs to get to, because I love all his movies. So that's what he needs. Cool. If he didn't even want to say a word to me, that was cool. It was total respect. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But he was just in his character. I'm there. I'm an assassin. I'm trying to kill him. So he makes it real. We're in a car. He making it real. He don't have to say a word to me, And again, that wasn't the case. But at first when we started, we're just running our lines. Outside of that, we really didn't speak. So we're just running them. And then the time he started ad-libbing the ad and stuff, after that take, I kind of went with it. I fumbled it at first. I'm like stuttering, but I went with it. And then after that, he was totally cool. We chopped it up for a little while. We talked for a little bit. Oh, where you from? New York? Yeah, I'm from New York too. Blah, blah, blah. We just two regular Joes in a car talking. It was pretty cool. And then he would get back in character, and he would do his thing, and we'd be in the scene, and boom. The next day or the next time we'd film, same thing. I'd leave him alone until he wanted to, open up and say anything. Then he started telling me stories about Glory. It was crazy.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, he was telling me stories about that just because there was so much going on in our scene. Like he's driving, we're fighting, and this and that. And he was telling me some story about Glory, that he had to run up a hill and he's doing things, and he turned around and said his lines or whatever. So, I was just taking those little gems. Like, this is crazy. This is cool.
Man, that's exactly, Gems is right. I mean, that's like, if I was in the gym and you pluck me out to spar, and I'm seeing all these moves, like, oh, this is what a real pro does. Oh man, how many years does it take to craft that? Look at all that. He's doing it like it's nothing. and you're getting that taste now, but in a different world. And that's so awesome. These stories. The one thing I was going to ask, which you already kind of answered beautifully, as far as that the ad-libbing, which people don't really that's something that you brought up that people don't understand, especially with each guy has their own process, like each fighter has their own process. And they always say, and I'm sure you obviously understand this, Jay, there's 3 different movies that are made. There's the movie that's written, there's what's shot, and then there's what's edited. So like you said, the editors, they're working with the negatives, whether it's mess ups, or the positives, whether it's ad libs, and they're having to kind of work with and almost around you guys. Is that am I off by saying that, or?
Yeah. No, it was you're totally right. Yeah, there's 3 different processes, and it's kind of like you do your thing, and then you just wait for them to see what they put together. The editors have a job. They the tone of the movie has to fit the tone of the movie. So that's what happens in the editing. They put the movie together.
Yeah, 100%.
You film a bunch of different takes, and whatever makes sense for the story, that's what they put. So it's really, you don't have any control after you do it.
Yeah, right. That term, final cut. But just one more thing before I pass on to Goes, and maybe something y'all can chime in on here. I'll get us started. But you mentioned Glory, and I was going to ask you. I'm like, I gotta know what is Jay's top 5 Denzel movies. I could spit you guys mine real quick. I already jotted them down, but I want to know what your guys' top 5 Denzel movies. Real quick, mine just 5 to 1. Training Day, John Q, American Gangster, Man on Fire. Number 1, Hurricane. I feel like he should have did a clean sweep at the Oscars and Golden Globes for that. Hurricane's my favorite role of his, but I don't know if you guys got.
Well, Glory and Training Day for sure up there for me. Man, the other ones are starting to.
It's a lot to pick from with Denzel. It's almost no wrong answers, but
every time, dude, he has a hit. He's just incredible.
Well, for me, for sure, I like American Gangster.
Hell yeah.
Training Day. I saw a movie called Flight where he, I think, had the plane upside down and saved a bunch of people. But he was good. he was on drugs and also he was drunk, so he shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Yeah.
But even then, he
Sully.
managed to figure it out. So I like that one. I like Glory, the one that Ghost said earlier. That was money. And then I liked him in that coaching role when he was Remember the Titans.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big sports nut. So that's kind of a little
Jesus
personal favorite of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Training Day for me, for sure. That was a great movie. Training Day.
He was in Crimson Tide as well. Remember
Yeah, that's on my list. Crimson Tide, for sure. Crimson Tide.
Yeah, we should have said top 10. That'd be a lot easier than
It
top
would've
5.
been,
Because I'm leaving out a couple.
How you
here.
guys leaving out
Anyway, go
Equalizer,
ahead,
man? Every one of you. Equalizer 1? Are you kidding me? That was badass.
I
it was
thought
slow. It was a slow burn, and then all of a sudden,
question.
boom! He just comes out like, oh shit.
Hey Jay, that
I
little
gotta
game
see
that
it.
he played with you, is
What's
that?
that?
And has this ever happened to you? But is there an equivalent in acting to being greenlit? Were you greenlit
Probably
a little bit?
I bet.
Like, who's this dude?
Yeah, because
What's
I'm
the
telling you, if I would have probably fucked that take up, they would have been like, "Who is this guy? Get that guy out of here!" Womp womp womp. You know what I mean? For sure. You know, it was definitely could have been. You know, it could have went great, but it could have went south. You know.
And in the
Because time is money. You got to understand, time is
for sure,
money
dude.
in that. You know, they got the permits for the streets, millions of dollars to shoot this scene. You know, so who knows? I mean, thank God it didn't turn out that way. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's known to do that. I heard he's known to like drown actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had lines in this one, quite a few. When that happens, when you have that role where you're actually speaking and doing that, but you also have a fight scene. You do stunt work.
Yeah.
Do they allow you to still do your own stuff, or do they have to bring in a
no.
double for you just because now you're a little
This
bit more
is
valuable?
Trust and believe. That's why I got that role because
you could do both?
so much. Yeah, I mean that's what came down to the wire because I auditioned for it and then, you know, they liked me, and then they were talking about going with a recognizable, bigger, you know, a named actor that is recognizable, which I get it. You know, that's a pretty big scene, but okay, now look at all the fighting and the car and all the action involved. You know, then they would have had a, you know, probably, I don't know, but they would have had to bring in a double for that actor when I do everything myself.
Yeah.
So.
Would you have been hurt if they brought Frank Trigg as your double?
Nah, that's my dude. I would have got him a check if that was the case.
Yeah, said, hey,
yeah.
Trigg, you gotta drop a little bit, man, if you're gonna play me. All right, so Denzel, he has the opportunity where he has his lines. You guys have rehearsed your lines.
Yeah.
But he can improv. He's Denzel.
Yeah, no, we didn't rehearse. We were in the car like it was a scene, dude. There was no rehearse. Probably not. No. You know what I mean? I was just working off what he was giving to me, and that was it.
Did you feel like something though, where if they did say, "Hey Jay,"
no, I could have. Yeah,
like,
there was a piece that they edited. You know what I mean? That I'm like telling them to get off the highway. That I did a little bit of improv, and you know the director's super cool. Like he makes it as real as it could be too. He hires a lot of real guys, like in scenes. But yeah, he was super cool. You know, he gives me some direction, and I ran with it. So there was a scene that it didn't make the movie when I'm telling Denzel to get off the highway, but I was improvising a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and director's great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Man.
I was gonna say that director, it's no joke too. I'm googly that you got to work with Denzel. Goes was talking about, you know, we're doing this thing of megastar stars and pay-per-view stars.
Yeah.
If we're doing this for the actors, like Denzel, that's right up there. Saying you worked with the De Niro, Pacino,
Yeah.
Denzel's. That's right there. That's the same.
Yeah.
That's the same tier.
Listen,
but Fuqua too.
Those dudes are legends too, but they're on the same level.
Yeah.
Denzel's right there.
Yeah.
I think.
But that director though, Fuqua, that's an honor too, man. That's
he's
no
a
joke
great
for people that
director.
don't know.
He shoots action like dialogue, you know, and you know, not a lot of guys do that. Guys do that, but not a lot. You know, if anything gets cut, it ends up being the action, but he tells a story with the action. So he's incredible.
Man.
Love all his movies.
Let's take a couple calls. Sorry, Jay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right, let's take a couple calls. We'll start off with Sam All Jam in Pennsylvania. What's up, Sam?
What's good, family? How you guys doing?
What's up?
Good, and you?
I'm good, man. Before I get to my man Jay, I just want to say none of y'all should quit your day jobs to become movie critics, because the fact that nobody mentioned Denzel and Malcolm X all of y'all should shut the fuck up right now.
Yeah.
All right?
That's up there.
So,
Damn, Jay, you see that? You hear
Forgot
that,
about
Jay?
that
He told
one.
you to shut the fuck up.
He's coming at Jay.
Now that said, I'm calling to give big ups to my man Jay Hieron.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
You know,
it.
I was at the movie theater Sunday with my son, and
great,
as soon as the cab ride scene came up, I like jumped up and I told my son, "Yo, that's Jay Hieron right there, right?" Without me even knowing you was in the flick, but I remembered because, well, obviously, I was lucky enough to take a couple of pics with you when I went to see these fools in Vegas. But before that, I remember you having a non-speaking part.
Thank you.
I
man.
remember seeing you in NYC 22 in the back of the police van.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, see, I know, kid.
Yeah,
So when
man.
I see you, I was like, yo, there's Jay Hieron.
Cool,
Yo, you
man.
played that part. I mean, I know it was a small part, but you played it to a T, so
Yeah.
much respect, man.
Thank
much
you.
respect. You know?
Appreciate it. Thank you, dude. Happy you enjoyed it.
You know, that said, so like I said, you know, I seen you grow from like a non-speaking part in the back of a police van in a short-lived police drama series to now a speaking part on, you know, a feature film with Denzel. Obviously, I'm assuming the goal is to, you know, expand that even bigger. Considering your background as a fighter and the skills, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What are the possibilities you have in mind, or maybe somebody's even touched on this already? You being the next big action star, you know, sometime in the future, you know, maybe the next Equalizer.
I mean, I'm always trying to go up a notch, you know. This, especially this part right here, I'm definitely trying to get in better conversations for parts, you know, and that's what it's doing already. I'm getting some calls, so, you know, I'm just riding it, man. One foot in front of the other. The grind never stops. Stay and work hard, stay humble, and keep moving.
If you ever have a role like a defensive, like a linebacker coach, Sam Aljam would be your guy. In an inner city, you know, a rough neighborhood, the linebacker coach, this guy right here.
Okay, cool. Got you.
Yeah. All right, two quick things, man. First of all, I don't believe Jay Hieron's voice was ever high pitched. If it was like when he was 7 years old. And then, that said, as far as Denzel films, if you guys never seen it, I suggest you go check out his first feature film role, A Soldier Story, 1984.
Oh, wow,
Dope
going
movie.
back.
All right, so
wow. Definitely got to check that one, too.
Respect, Jay, man. Thanks a lot, all right?
Appreciate it, bro.
And now that I got a couple of pics with you, like I said, I got pics for the movie star.
yeah, it's all good, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, family.
Thank you.
Here's what I don't get. Jay also left out Denzel Washington from Malcolm X. Yet us three have to shut the fuck up, but not Jay. How was Jay excluded?
We all
from
got
that?
told shut the fuck up because I only said 3. You guys said all of them, so you know I'm the same
Hey,
way.
which one's the one where he protects Dakota Fanning? Like there are a couple.
Man on Fire.
There's a couple in Mexico.
Man on Fire, brother.
That one's a good one.
That's
too.
my number 2.
Yeah,
That's my number 2.
That's right up there.
That's more because of the movie though too, because that was like a stylistic movie too that I kind of dug
Tony
to
Scott,
as well.
director. Yeah. Rest in peace. He passed away. But yeah, he was
The
a great
bad guy
director.
is a
Innovative.
guy named,
What's that?
The bad guy is a guy named La Voz, the voice.
Oh yeah, the
It
voice.
was good.
Yeah.
Great movie, man. The director Tony Scott, real innovative. How he shot that, it just made you feel like you was there in Mexico with him.
Yeah. Usually I'm a little dizzy with a Tony Scott film, but he got that one just right. He got that one just right. That was nice.
That was good. And it's one of those ones where you watch it. The
still-
more times you watch it, the better it gets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Do we still have Dan from Oregon? Danny Oakhurst?
We do.
Let's talk to Dan in Oregon. What's up, Dan?
What is happening? Are you guys ready for a one championship Ring of Kings recap?
Make it a quick one, but yeah, we'll do it.
51 motherfucker was the chant, or what was heard through the crowd right before Henzo started his fight, and they're standing there doing a stare down. They got yellow carded for a lack of action, but in round number 2, 51-year-old Henzo chokes him out. It was freaking nuts. It's crazy to see a guy come back from 8 years and get a victory like that, man.
Tell me about it. Yeah, Jay Hieron, I don't know if you know this, but Renzo Gracie fought in the Philippines this morning. This morning for us, evening for them. And he choked out Yuki Kondo from the Pride Days. So he got a win at 51 years old. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, Renzo's a super, super cool dude, man. He's just his mentality. That's probably why he went out there and did his thing. You know what I mean? He's like a Brazilian hippie, just always. You know what I'm saying? Like he just nonchalant, just whatever. You know, what comes. You know, everything rolls off his shoulders. So he takes that mind frame into a fight. You know, it's just all good.
I'm just thinking, if a 51-year-old could do it, could a 41-year-old do it?
I'm retired, brother.
Oh, you're done? Okay.
I'm done.
Just
So
check.
you
Right.
see me in the gym, I'm all right. But you know, once it comes like time to bite down and set up a 6-week, 8-week camp, nah, I'm over that. I'm done. You know, I love it. I love the game. I still train because I love martial arts. I love the sport. I love to train. But the whole politics and business side of it, you know, I'm just like, you know, I'm over that. I like to train for fun and to stay in shape.
All right. What else you got, Dan?
Man, the prospect, Gary Tonin, went out there. He got about 13 and a half minutes of experience before he finally got the rear naked choke. He tried setting it on one side. It looked like it wasn't the dominant arm, so he switches to the other one, gets underneath his neck, taps him out. Shinya Aoki was a savage, went out there. This guy put on some, like, native dance, and freaking Shinya Aoki comes out and murders him, leaves him in a pile of blood, and then jumps into the crowd like Jose Aldo in Brazil. That was amazing. What else we got? The main event, Martin Wynn. He went for his third belt, which is an interim belt, but went against the Philippines native, and the Philippine native got it done against him. Took him like almost all of the rounds. And then one other guy, which you got to check it out. I think his name is, I'm calling him Joshua Pacquiao. And he got this guy from full back control, got him in like a chicken wing or some shit like that, and like Kimura'd him from the back, chicken wing style. It was super nuts. If you guys are missing out on one championship, I don't think you can honestly call yourself an MMA junkie. Back to you guys. I'm out.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the recap. And yes, one championship did go off today. Congrats to Enzo Gracie for grabbing that win. We almost were able to connect with him a little while ago, but it's almost 2 a.m. out there, so probably an unreachable task. But I think we may have been able to grab one other guest as well. So let's take a break. Let's reset a little bit. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM the new Fight Nation, Channel 93. It was just a matter of time before I slipped up. But yes, we launched a new name yesterday. It's called Fight Nation, and still the same channel. So we're Fight Nation, Channel 93. All right, folks, we'll be right back. We got Jay Hieron in the house.
King Kong has a lot of shit on them. Like a lot, especially Goes. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Did you miss ESPNU Radio's conversation with your school's coach and star players during college football media days? If so, all of those interviews and more are available on the SiriusXM app. Just search ESPNU interviews. All right, let's do the daily debate, and we'll get that out of the way. It's always fun to do it, especially when we have an in-studio guest like retired MMA fighter, and he's not coming back, so don't ask him again, Jay Hieron, who fought for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, Bellator, and was also a world champion at IFL back in the day, and now he chops it up on the movie screen with stars like Denzel Washington. That's right, you can catch Jay Hieron in The Equalizer 2, which debuted in theaters this past weekend, and it was the #1 movie.
Yes.
So let's get this question here. We'll do our last daily debate of the week. Here it goes, guys. With Conor McGregor's legal issues mostly behind him, it's time to consider his next fight. Which potential matchup would generate the most pay-per-view buys? You got two choices. Here we go. Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz Part 3, or Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, the UFC lightweight champion. Dan, Tom, you go first.
Man, it's an interesting question. So I guess the way they're asking it, which would make more, maybe not which is next, maybe not which is right, maybe not which is fair, but which would make more money, I would say Nate Diaz 3, because I think Nate is a draw himself, and with the Russians, he's got such a big following with the Russians, but then you hear all these different reports, and the numbers don't exactly translate. Let's just say they might watch the pay-per-views in different ways over there. So I'll go Nate 3.
All right, how about you, Goes?
I'm going to go Diaz and McGregor 3. They're 1-1, so people are already signing up just for that. They've already gotten a taste of the trash talk, not just leading up to, but during the fight. I just feel like that casual guy, if we walk out there into the sports book, that guy will automatically know who Nate Diaz is. Even if he confuses him with his brother, he just knows that name. Khabib Nurmagomedov, great fighter, deserves everything, but I don't know that he's out there with the popular, with just the common fan just yet. So I'm going to go with Diaz and McGregor.
How about you, Jay Hieron? Which one sells more? Which one generates more pay-per-view buys? McGregor Diaz 3 or McGregor and Nurmagomedov?
Yeah, definitely McGregor Diaz 3, just because the whole drama behind the first two fights and the build-up for it. So, and they were great fights at that, back and forth, 1-1. So I believe that fight would probably definitely generate more money.
Yep, I agree. It's
being that said, as a fighter, I would like to see
Nurmagomedov.
Yeah,
me too.
McGregor. Yeah, being a fighter, I would definitely like to see what's rightfully, the guy that just won the title, that he wants that fight to, establish himself as the real champ.
Do you guys know he used to fight?
Yeah,
the actor over here.
Yeah, we was just talking. I get recognized now more. I think people coming up to me saying, "Hey, this fight or that fight," and this. No, I saw you in this TV show. It's crazy.
How about you, George?
All right, I'm gonna go with. We're gonna go around the horn here. I feel the same way. McGregor Diaz 3. I mean, it's the blueprint's already there. They both have done at least 1.5 million, and I think they hold the record for the second one at 1.65 million. So that one's hard to argue against, even if you want to be the contrarian, even if you want to, do what the talking head shows do, and that's debate and argue. That one's tough to argue. I'm not going to be Skip Bayless light here and just be stubborn and a jerk off just to do it. But McGregor Nurmagomedov, like I mentioned yesterday, I don't think it's far behind, because McGregor anyone is 1 million pay-per-views. McGregor Diaz 2 was 1.65. I think this one falls kind of in the middle, so it wouldn't be by much. But yeah, McGregor Diaz 3 gets it done. Now that said, us four, we went in the same direction, but the 1,833 that voted, 81% said McGregor Nurmagomedov, and only 19% said McGregor Diaz 3. There you go. That's our daily debate for today, including actor and former fighter Jay Hieron.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue here with the show. Jay, what's next? Well, for one, Do you know, will there be an Equalizer 3? Do you think it'll be a series, or what do you know about that movie and going forward?
No idea. I mean, I went to the premiere. I saw the director after. Everybody was more concentrating on Equalizer 2 itself. Nobody's really was talking about a 3 or anything else after that. So, I have no clue. I'm back on the grind. Auditioning, trying to get my next job.
All right. Fair enough. All right, Jay, hang on tight with us here. We're going to talk to Yves Edwards really fast. He is out in Calgary. He's supporting his teammates out there. He's got a lot of them, man. You know that ATT team, they roll deep. So we'll catch up with him about that and also everything that's coming up here with PFL. PFL 5 is already around the corner. These guys really, really stay busy. Joining us now is Thug Jitsu Master Yves Edwards. What's up, Yves? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing, George?
Great. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. I got Goes with me, Dan, our fight analyst, and retired MMA fighter Jay Hieron, which I don't know if you know this, he's also in The Equalizer 2 with Denzel Washington.
Man, you can't turn on your television without seeing Jay Hieron. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I know. I saw Jay in Vegas at the MMA Awards, and I was trying to get his autograph.
Right. Come on now.
No, Jay didn't think that of me, but Jay's cool as hell, man. I love Jay. What's up, Jay?
Love you too, brother. You're the man.
All right. Hey, Yves, I know it's busy times for you out in Calgary. Let's start right at the top, man. Dustin Poirier, you guys have formed such a bond that he also calls himself a thug jitsu fighter. He's not a karate guy or a jiu-jitsu guy or an MMA guy or a street brawler or a kung fu fighter. He's a thug jitsu fighter. Talk about that bond you have with Poirier and how much this fight means to him versus Eddie Alvarez Part 2.
Man, that's real. That's a big honor for me. It's huge. I met Dustin back when he was just pretty much starting. You know, he fought a few fights. I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tim Crater was like, "Hey, man, you want to come over to my house?" Dustin's in Baton Rouge. He's teaching class. He'd bring me by. I didn't know Dustin at the time. Just on that hour ride, you know, we got to know each other. He was really good, and it's just been really fun and grow, man. Meeting him then. We were working on, what was that, Never Back Down 2 in Louisiana. And then, what was that, like 7 or 8 years ago, you know? So to see how far he's come, to see him grow, and to watch that growth in each one of his fights, man, that's been a lot of fun. Got to know his wife, Jolie Parker. She's my little sweetie. Parker gave the first kiss that she's ever given anyone, so I'm gonna hold that record forever. I don't know, man. I love Dustin, man. He's just such a great kid, just working hard all the time. And I say that's because he's 29, but he's a man in every sense of the word.
Mm-hmm. Yves, you spent many years as a teammate of Tecia Torres. She relocated to Colorado a few years ago, so I'm sure there's a connection there. But now Joanna's a part of American Top Team. How difficult of a fight will this be to watch, you know, with the older teammate who you had more of a tenure with versus the current teammate who, from what I'm hearing, and maybe you can clarify, she's there, but she is as embraced as some of the other long-timers? I hear maybe some of the stuff she does is off to the side, but again, can you clarify?
Well, I'm not down at American Top Team day in and day out, but I know she's a part of the team. When she's in there, she's working with Mike and a lot of times with when I've been there, I've seen her working with Amanda and Nina and those guys in the past. But she's working with Mike Brown. Mike is one of my best friends down there also, and they have a really strong bond. I get to see them work out when it comes to these events, and she's on the same card as Dustin, and their bond is like Mike is like a dad to her in the fight world. So I know she's a part of the team because if Mike cuts for you, like, you're vetted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Okay. This fight with Tecia, it's going to be a tough one, but it's got to play out in certain ways, you know. Joanna, she's the bigger, longer, taller, and she's a multi-champion. So she's going to want to keep that range. She's comfortable with her takedown defense. Wrestling has gotten stronger and stronger throughout her time at American Top Team. And that's going to be a big key for her. Ticia's going to do
she does. She's just going to keep that pace up. She's going to push the pace and try to come forward on Joanna, get her fighting going backwards, which is always beneficial for Tisha. She's small, she packs a big punch, and if she can stay in Joanna's face, she could cause some problems. But I was with my friends, man. I hate it when my friends fight, but like at the same time, those are usually the best fights. Like I have the coolest friends in the world, and they're like some of the baddest asses on the planet. So this one is going to be fun. But it's we look at it, we know how it has. Tisha has to close the gap, and Joanna has to keep that distance. And the wrestling is what I believe is going to determine who's going to win this fight, because Joanna is going to have to keep this fight standing to be able to do what she does most effectively.
All right, back in Vegas. Goes, what do you have for Yves Edwards?
Yves, when it comes to a guy like Dustin Poirier, and even Eddie Alvarez for that matter, I'm sure ATT guys are very prepared just like every other gym. But these two are the type of guys where I could see them walking in with a game plan, but the second they get hit, it's that, oh, hell no. And it turns into what it kind of looked like in that first fight. How difficult is it when you have to kind of have that guy's back and have a strategy, but at the same time you know at any second it can churn? How do you make those adjustments?
Man, it's not an adjustment for me to have to make, fortunately. You try to keep them focused and try to keep them focused on not letting his ego take over. And when I look at Dustin's last few fights, especially the fight with Gaethje, I think that was a big part of his mental growth inside the octagon. He's not in that fight. He never got into that brawl that Gaethje wanted, and that we've seen Dustin going into. He usually wins those, but like the odds are 50-50 when you decide to sit down and talk and trade. And he just, in that Gaethje fight, he showed a lot of growth in that regard, and I believe that's now a part of his arsenal. You're gonna have to really, really pick at him and dig under the skin to get to that. And he's too smart, and he's worked too hard to get to the point. So, this fight will ensure him a title shot, in my opinion. And that's what he wants. He wants to be the world champion. So I think that when Eddie tries to make the fight into an ego battle, Dustin will be able to hold on to himself, control his emotions, and do what he needs to get himself to this point, and pick him apart from the outside. And if Eddie wants to get into a brawl and get on the inside, Dustin's comfortable there. He's good there, and he's going to fight out to make the fight happen where he needs it to happen to have the ultimate success.
Yves, let's switch to one other topic here. I know you're out there supporting the teammates at UFC on Fox 30 in Calgary, but in less than a week, you got to head to Uniondale, New York. That's, I think, Jay Hieron's neck of the woods, that area. And you got to go over there for PFL 5. Brian Foster versus Natan Schulte, and then Brandon Halsey will be facing Extreme Couture standout Vinny Magalhaes. Tell me about PFL now, as we're now getting to the second regular season fights of the guys. How would you grade the overall experience of it launching through this whole regular season, the point format, how the fighters are performing? A grade or just maybe a recap of PFL so far, and what you expect out of PFL 5.
Man, I would give PFL A+ in the grading as far as entertainment, the fights, and the quality of the fights that we've had. Lots of guys are going out, but the fights aren't one-sided. It's not someone that's dominating the entire fight, and you expected it. So there have been some comeback fights. There have been fights that have been wars. There have been some slow, calculated decisions also. But, I believe we have like a 70% finish rating, and that's huge, especially when you have the quality of guys we have. I've really been enjoying the PFL. I love the point system. And the point system kind of creates its own drama. You don't have to get on social media and run your mouth to make things happen. Point system has been contributing to the drama of the game, because you got to win to get in, and getting through the regular season now. In the second round for the lightweights and the light heavyweights, these guys know. Some guys know where they sit in the rankings. They know they're in the playoffs. They want to possibly get a high seed. And then some of the other guys, they know they need a win to get themselves into the playoffs. And I like that. I like the last event when Max Koga was fighting. he sorry, the fight after Max Coga, when Lance Palmer was able to. Well, I'm sorry, not was able to. When Lance Palmer didn't get to finish in the third round by what was it? I think it was like 251. That showed that Max Kohler got into the playoffs. I like that mathematics that goes along with it because it adds a dimension to it. It adds some drama, and it lets the story change naturally over the course of each event. And then when we get to the playoffs, it's a whole new story. It's a whole new season. And then the rule is just win to continue, and then we'll have the finals on New Year's Eve. I mean, the drama that sports brings, I believe the PFL format is bringing that drama to mixed martial arts without the social media and people just popping off at the mouth because I don't know. That's how you get get the fights that you want to entertaining people online rather than how you do it inside the cage.
We got about 60 seconds, Eve, but I wanted to just point something out to you. I look back at your record, and you had some great winning streaks as well, but you had some that would have been properly applied to the PFL format, where back in 2000, you peeled off like 5 or 6 straight throughout the year and in early 2001, which is kind of mimics what PFL's doing. You know, if only they had been giving out $1 million checks over at Hook and Shoot, you know, then. And then I looked at 2004 through 2005 when you had your UFC run. Same thing, man. You went through, I think, like a February through the fall, like an 18-month run there where you had 5 or 6 straight wins. You could have been holding up another $1 million check. But I know you're a good sport about being a pioneer, but, you know, incredible how much the sport has changed, right?
Yeah, it's definitely huge. I mean, that's why we did it, right? So that the guys today can make it. I like to think that, you know, the guys like Tank Abbott, Marco Huas, and those guys, they created a path. So they made the trail, and you know, guys like myself, I'm fortunate to be in the group with Randy and those guys, but we created the trail, and you know, guys like Kenny and Bisbing and those guys, they paved the road. So now these guys can drive these sweet ass rides on them.
All right, my man. Hey, get back to supporting your teammates out in Calgary. Thanks for the time. We really appreciate it, Eve, and we'll talk to you next week for PFL.
Take care, George.
Later, Eves.
Okay, we'll see you. All right, we are going to take our last break. That was Yves Edwards, and we'll be right back to finish up shop.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
NBA Radio is your headquarters for all things basketball this summer, from free agency signings to trade rumors and social media gossip. Whether it's happening on or off the court this offseason, we're discussing it on NBA Radio, Sirius 207 XM86, and streaming on your phone or at home on Sirius XM connected device and speakers. Good luck to the LFA and Access TV team tonight at JBLE, Joint Base Langley Eustis. They will be performing in front of the troops that MMA Junkie Radio has been lucky enough to go out there and be a part of. So that they're like family out there, and I hope you guys have a great show. Tune in tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on Access TV for LFA 46. Also, want to thank all of our guests for the week, and that include Emily Whitmire, Eric Nixick, Ricky Lundell, Cub Swanson, Richard Hunter, Sodiq Youssef, Nate Landwehr, Andrew Simon, James Vick, Jay Hieron, and Yves Edwards. All right. Goes, what did you decide on OT? Are we doing a couple minutes, or did we get to everything we wanted to? I know you had a couple of questions left for Jay.
Yeah, it's up to you guys, man. I'm down for whatever.
All right, just a couple minutes. So, Jay, start off with the one that Goes asked you. I thought it was a good one. I think the audience should hear it. What is a dream role for you?
Just bigger roles, a lead bad guy or good guy, whatever. It's acting. So I don't mind playing bad guys because they're complex characters. There's a lot of depth to them, so that's what makes acting fun.
What's a nightmare role? Like, are you afraid of the ocean? Like, would you not want to be in a Jaws movie or something like that?
Yeah, there's like
I wouldn't want to do
I
that
don't
either.
really like deep ocean stuff. I know how to swim, but you put me in the ocean, I'm like a little, like I don't know how to swim. It's weird.
Yeah, even if it's a fake shark, it would still terrify me, man.
I mean, I wouldn't turn it down for sure, but if it's like full on, you have to be a super Olympic style swimmer, then probably I'll have to say no.
Yeah.
There's not too many nightmare roles though.
Not too many?
I play all the bad guy roles.
All right, well, here's what happened. George actually just dropped because he's at the other studio, but we're just going to end up here with oh, he's back. Yeah, is that you? All right, I guess we're going to end the show. So anyways, thank you very much today, Ron, coming here in studio. And definitely live this again for your next big movie. And thank you to all our guests, George, Dan, Danny, back in New York. You all did a good job. And we will come back next week. We'll see you on MMA Junkie Radio. Until then, peace champions.